Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Organised Labour in Crunch meeting to deliberate on concerns raised regarding the controversial sale of 4 hotels by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust to Agric Minister Brian Champong. Also coming up, heavy police presence at the Kumasi Ridge office of the Electoral Commission as the EC begins voter transfer, replacement of lost ID card and proxy at various centres across the country. And much later, another seeming scandal hits the government as investigative journalist Manasseh Azere Awene reveals the government has given a 5G contract to a company that was registered less than a week before that contract was handed over to it. We have details for you because the Communications Minister, Eslo Wusu-Akufo, has been responding to it in a press conference ending just some minutes ago. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, voter transfer, replacement of lost ID card and proxy have begun at various centres across the country. In the Ashanti region, there is heavy police presence at the Kumasi Ridge office of the Electoral Commission as the exercise begins. William Evans Income is monitoring the exercise for us. He joins us live from the region. Evans, what can you report from where the exercises are going on?
Well, so the exercise just started. It was supposed to start around 8 a.m., but we understand there were some system hitch, the reason the exercise delayed. So if you come here, that is the Inshiaso or Rage Registration Center or Center, it is actually holding about three districts. So here we're talking about Bantama, Inshiaso, and of course, Swamin. And these are the districts that are currently being served as far as voter transfer is concerned. For the people who are already here, I'm talking about potential voters, it's just a handful, but I want to believe that because of the first day. Nonetheless, there are others who are also making entry as far as this particular place is concerned. So basically, some are here to replace their lost voters' ID card. Another challenge that is also emerging from that side is that the system has been very slow. Some of the potential voters have been complaining to the EC officials here, and just they are just calming them down that they should just take their time and continue to go through the process. Maybe they will be able to go through successfully and also pay the 10 Ghana cedi that they are supposed to pay before they can have their cards replaced for them. Aside that, there are others who are also coming in to do the proxy voting. Those people are insignificant as far as their numbers are concerned. I have only cited one particular person because the other one who wants somebody to vote on his behalf is leaving the country. So that is proxy voting there for you. Then for those who are transferring their votes, those are the ones that I can say that they are quite heavy as far as their numbers are concerned.
Evans, are you able to tell us, though, why there's heavy security presence?
Well, yeah, so in terms of security, they are heavy here. I can tell you that the numbers I saw during the voter registration, they have doubled up as far as police visibility is concerned. So inside the registration center or the center where the voter transfer is happening, I see a number of them who are not armed, but outside I have seen armed policemen who more or less, you say, a reinforcement team just in case there is a situation.
All right, thank you very much, William Evans Inkum. He is our Northern Chief. He's our Northern Bureau Chief. Here in Accra, the exercise is supposed to end on June 14, 2024. However, EC officials at the old head office of the Electoral Commission have not been able to start work as they are already experiencing network challenges as well. As you heard William tell us from the Ashanti region, Judith Brown has also been monitoring the exercise for us in Accra. She joins us live. Judith, what's the situation currently?
Right, and so Beatrice, I'm currently at the old EC office that is here in Accra, and over here there are about 5 constituencies that are doing this transfer of votes as well as replacement and proxy, and so these include the Ayawaso West, Central, and East. They also have the Koliklote constituency here as well. But, I mean, as said earlier, the challenges are quite similar to that in the Ashanti region. What we have observed here is that the work has still been stalled because basically there are network challenges. The machines are not working currently. We spoke to some of the EC officials. They say that this is a normal challenge, especially within the first 2 days of registration of the transfer of votes. And so they are hoping that after these 2 days, the network would be much better than it is now, and they'll be able to do the transfer. For people who came for replacement, some of them have been asked to go and come back later, or maybe come in a few days' time to be able to do the replacement, because currently the network is really bad. For those who are doing transfer, who are much more than the others, of course, they are being told to just write their names and fill the forms. In case the network comes back, they will be able to do the registration proper. And so these are some of the challenges that they are facing here. The people here are just a handful. The place is not yet inundated because it seems that the EC say they have advertised this very well, but we are yet to see what the number of people who come in the coming days for the transfer of vote replacements as well as proxy.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Judith Brown, reporting live from the EC Old headquarters. Let's listen to the Ayawaso West District EC Director, Lydia Adu.
Those who are qualified for transfers are those people who have stayed at their current residency for more than 1 year. And when they come, they are supposed to come with their voter's ID card and a proof of their new residency to the Electoral Commission, to the returning officer, for him or her to process their application. Because today is the first day of the exercise, we believe that this is in hot exercise, and we know that it will be smooth as the days goes by.
And you heard the Ayawaso West District EC Director, Lydia Adu. We do apologize for the poor quality of the sound from the beginning of it. Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission has come under fire for suggesting that the reason it got its data on the voter registration exercise wrong was because the team responsible for data representation used Corel Draw instead of Excel. This detail was revealed by the chairperson of the commission, Jean Mensah, when asked why the commission got its data wrong a number of times. Madam Mensah went on to add that the commission has abandoned the use of Corel Draw and was now using Excel in addition to some rigorous measures. Now, with the dust yet to settle on the plethora of scandals, the Akufo-Addo government has been embroiled in another one is red hot in the offing. The handout of 5G internet service to a newly incorporated company with a seeming no technical expertise has raised eyebrows over the propriety of the agreement and whether or not procurement laws have been followed. The details made available by investigative journalist Manasseh Azuria-Wene suggest that President Akufo-Addo has, via an executive instrument, instructed the country's 5G technology to be handed to just one company, NextGen Infraco Limited. Correspondences between the National Communications Authority and the Communications Minister also reveal up to 10-year contract, which makes NextGen Infraco the only entity closed with the power to operate 5G technology in the country, with telecommunication companies expected to tap into their service to operate on the 5G bandwidth. Grace Hamwajiman joins me in the studio with some details. Grace, first of all, I know Manasseh revealed some details there on his social media page. What can you tell us from what you've gleaned so far?
Yes, Beatrice. So what I have is the correspondence between the presidency, the communications ministry, and also NextGen Infranco. So on August 22nd, 2023, President Akufo-Addo gives an executive approval for the establishment of a neutral wireless open access network to promote a vibrant telecom market in Ghana. The communications minister, Esla Owusu-Akufo-Addo, goes ahead and says there will be no auction for 5G spectrum for the successful implantation of this project, and therefore the company is proceeded to conclude on licensing of the frequencies to NextGen Infranco. The correspondence continues that a letter from the National Communications Authority to the CEO of NextGen Infranco Limited, dated on 13 May 2024, that is just 3 weeks ago, comes in. The letter says, refer to your provisional authorization letter numbered NCA dated 3rd May 2024, as well as your letter dated 10th May, respectively, on the above subject, being the fact that they can now go ahead and provide infrastructure for a neutral wireless network operation. The NCA then confirms that NextGen Infranco has been given an exclusivity period of 10 years as a provider of the wholesale 5G network from the date of execution of the license. That means they will also have the right to the spectrum neutrality for both 4G and 5G.
Grace, I know Manasseh also alleged that the company had been registered less than a week before it was handed over the project. Is there any document to support this claim?
Yes, Beatrice, when you check the socials of Manasseh, he puts up the registration letter or certificates of NextGen Infranco from Registrar General's Department. And on that letter, the date for the registration of the company is 16th August 2023. And 16th August 2023, as against the 22nd August 2024, that 2023, that President Akufo-Addo gives the authorization for the company to be. That is like 6 days in between 16th and 22nd. So that is where questions are already coming up, that the company is registered on 16th August, and then on 22nd August...
It has a contract already.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamo-Agyemang, bringing us details of those, of this latest information coming in about the government giving a 5G contract to a company registered less than a week ahead of the contract. Meanwhile, the Communications Minister, Esla Owusu-Akufo, has mounted a spirited defense over the award of the 5G spectrum operation contract to NextGen Infranco Limited to roll out Ghana's 5G infrastructure. She's been responding to the issue at a press conference in Accra. Listen.
We have Ascend Digital Solutions, which is the only company I know in this country that is setting up and managing shared infrastructure, i.e. our rural telephony network, in conjunction with 2 Chinese companies. They are the only local company that I know of that are currently operating and managing a shared rural telephony network. KNET is also the only company that I know that is operating a shared digital terrestrial broadcasting platform for all TV reception in this country. That is what influenced the choice of these 2 companies, because they have proven track record in operating and managing shared infrastructure. They have also invited all mobile network operators to be partners in the consortium. So every mobile network operator operating in this country has been invited to be part of the consortium. The conversation started with some, and it's continuing with the rest of them. So no mobile network operator in this country will be left out. They will all own shares in NGIC. Other private investors who've also expressed interest will also be part of this consortium. The government of Ghana will retain a small percentage in this consortium. There is a reason why we chose this model. And based on our experiences with rural telephony, where the government rolled out the infrastructure, and the network operators are utilizing it to provide services in areas where they would ordinarily not go, we are hopeful that this would also lead us to, within the next 3 years, expand 4G coverage from the current 15% to 80%, and that will be a record on the continent.
And you heard that the Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Esla Owusu-Ekuful. I'm joined on the line now by anti-corruption campaigner and co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu. Let me also say that we do have on the line with us the Vice Chair of the Communications Committee of Parliament. Good afternoon to you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on the Midday News.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start with you, Mr. Senanu. You have seen the document and heard the minister. We just played her voice. Your preliminary comment.
Well, unfortunately, this is another very embarrassing situation. The procurement laws we have do not allow you to do single source selection of companies unless there is a track record of their history in providing these services, and there is no other entity capable of doing so. Typically, you can only know this because you have opened a tender, you have requested for proposals, and then you shortlist and draw a certain conclusion. So it's not possible that a 1-week-old company is already, as it were, lined up to take on a contract for which it has not provided historical services. That really, there's everything wrong with the optics, not just the optics, but actually the substance of the facts. So we should not be finding ourselves in this situation. The fact that other players in the country have been brought on board or who have a stake in it does not take away the fact that clearly due process is not being followed. It is not also within the ambit of the minister to say that a particular contract should be exclusive. That's not what the laws allow in this country. So there's a lot of problem, and it's suggestive of something underhand going on, which hopefully at the end of the day, Manasseh and other people will to establish for us.
Does it strike you that the minister said this company has proven track record? Just quoting her here, but per the document we have, it was registered on the 16th and then 22nd, it is already getting a contract.
And that's where the contradictions start. That is where it becomes very embarrassing because the facts do not support what she has said. It's not possible for a 1-week-old company to already have had these things outlined ready for them to take. It's just not acceptable. There's no track record. So one would need to then ask, where are they saying that this track record comes from? And why didn't we open up, do an open request for everybody else, even those who are outside the country and want to partner? Assume there's nobody in the country providing that service. Somebody coming to partner someone here that has maybe some smaller capacity. These are the ways in which our laws are breached, and then, monies that ought to be properly applied don't get applied. I don't think that what she's saying is supported by the facts.
I want you to hold on, Mr. Senanu. Like I said, we do have on the line with us Sylvester Tete. He's the Vice Chairman of the Communications Committee of Parliament. Good afternoon to you, sir, if you can hear us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Is your committee aware of this conversation we're having, the government handing over a 5G contract to a company that was registered less than a week before this contract was given to it?
Well, good afternoon to our listeners, and then to your good self, to my brother who is on the other side of the line. Let me seek to correct some impression that is being made as we speak now. To begin with, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Communication, we are aware that government was seeking the processes for 5G, but as to this particular deal, there hasn't been a formal engagement with the committee, as it were. That I believe that is so because Parliament is on recess, and I believe that when Parliament reconvene, the appropriate briefing will be done to the Select Committee on Parliament, and for that matter, Parliament as a whole. But let me come to the subject matter of discussion. The presser was held at the Ministry of Information a while ago, and I believe your reporters were there. The point is that we, as a government of Ghana, had not auctioned the 5G spectrum. That should around a procurement process as you are seeking to. This is a special purpose vehicle. Government has taken the decision on the fact that when we auction, the 4G spectrum since 2015 to date, only 15% penetration we've chalked as a country. So what government has done is that, look, I am not going to auction the spectrum, because once you auction the spectrum, you go through the processes. Somebody buys the spectrum, it decides how to run it, and other players are left out. So government is saying that let's have a special purpose vehicle, inclusive of all the active players in the country. So everybody is given equal playing field to participate in the rollout of the 4G, of the 5G. So the point should be made clear that this is not an auctioning of a 5G spectrum. This is a special purpose vehicle government has embarked on. And once you've taken the decision to have a special purpose vehicle, the issue of procurement does not arise here.
Are you not concerned that the minister said in her letter to the NCA that there's not going to be any auction, and it looks like it had been decided upon already? In fact, aside from the auction, I'm just going to read a bit of that statement to you, which also seems to raise some eyebrows. It says, kindly invite... In fact, let me start from a line before that. It says, to ensure the desired level of service, the following frequencies will be required. It didn't say has been provided. Will be required by Next Gen Info company, and it gives those details. And then goes ahead to say, kindly invite Next Gen Infraco to present the overall technology infrastructure business plan and network deployment plan. How do you go ahead to give instruction for a license to be given when these things have not been done?
But you see, you should get players in this, that the INGC, whatever, let me get the name correct. It is not. You see, there's a special purpose vehicle. The NGIC is a special purpose vehicle, inclusive of all the active players, Smart Infraco, KNet, and all, including the mobile telephone operators in this country. They are all part of it, because the government decision is that when you auction it like we did for the 4G, a company with capacity buys it, and it plays out all the active players in the industry. And that is what we've suffered from 2015 to date. We've had only 15% penetration of 4G. It has slowed down businesses, it has slowed down our progress, and all that. So in this case, the decision of government is that, look, we are not going to auction it. At the stage where we need so much money, we could have decided to auction it, go for the tender, get the highest bidder, auction your 5G and get your money and leave it. So but the experience of 4G, please, the experience of 4G has taught us, let government and active players own it as a co-share, so that when we all own it, nobody is played out. So that everybody will have a share of the cake. So government will slowly take its money, because the investment we are talking here, everybody, including going to public, for you and I to participate in the process of owning a part of it. So once you are dealing with special purpose vehicle, then the matter of procurement, having to go for a tender and all this does not arise here.
Mr.
So the issue of a 1 month or 1 week or 1 day company is neither here nor there.
So you don't find anything wrong with how the government went about this?
How did the government went about? Government decision is that we are not auctioning it. We want to own it together with the key players in the industry. So it is owned by government of Ghana with the partners.
7.5%, and that is for the government.
It is the best deal compared to what we did to the 2G, 3G, and 4G.
I'll come to you.
I've told you, from 2015, check, the 4G we auctioned, and somebody bought it.
Is it necessary? Is it necessary to bring what happened under the other administration?
It is to guide our forward march.
Is that not the problem when we are always politicizing?
From 4G to 5G, this is not politics.
But you're comparing what you've done now to what happened in the past. Is that not the problem?
But if you are not guided by what happened in the past, how do you move on? And I'm telling you, you must be concerned about the fact that we auctioned 4G to a company that has so monopoly over it. It has slowed down business to the extent that as we sit here, they are not concerned by going to the district where business is not growing. So they are taking Accra, 15% market share from 2015 till date. You should be concerned about it.
Mr. Senanu,
rolling out a nationwide policy where every industry player is a partaker of the particular company we are talking about. So that when my mother in Asin Fusu, my brother in Pungungu will enjoy the 5G, nobody has monopoly to say that I can only serve Tema, Accra, and Kumasi.
Mr. Senator, I'm coming to you in a bit, but let me ask you my last question, Mr. Tete, before you take leave of us. And I'm asking you two questions in one. You say that you are not aware because Parliament has been on recess. The process didn't start now. As far as we are concerned, it was...
Please don't misquote me. My position from the beginning was that we are aware of the process, but the details as it is now, the committee has not been briefed. And I think that when we reconvene, Parliament will be duly briefed. That is my position.
So the Communications Committee is going to take this up. That's what you're telling me indirectly.
Come again?
The Communications Committee of Parliament is going to take this thing up when you reconvene or you resume. That's what you're saying.
We will summon the minister for proper briefing to Parliament, as we've always done.
Thank you very much. We'll have to end it here. Vice Chairman of the Communications Committee of Parliament, Sylvester Tete. Let me get the final word from Adam Senanu. You just heard the man in Parliament there. I'm wondering what your final thoughts are on this case.
Well, I wish he hadn't gone. There are two major flaws with what he said. First flaw I want to point out is this. It is the legal arrangements that were put in place that's the problem. Whether second,
I think Mr. Tete is still on the line for a very brief response to what you say.
Very good. For the 2G, 3G, 4G. Usually, what will happen is that your contractual arrangement will say that if you don't do the expected penetration, you don't provide the services, we reserve the right to retrieve that part of the spectrum. So it is surprising that we had only 15% penetration and they did not understand that is the nature of the auction and the legal arrangements or architecture surrounding the auction. So that's the first flaw. I think they should have remedied that by looking at the contracts and rather not saying that, therefore, we are going for an SPV. That really does not make sense to me. Secondly, in this particular issue, he says that they decided to go with the players in the market. The problem is the next gen that has been given this exclusive right was not an existing player, well known, with a reputation and a history of service provision of the quality that we want for this country. So your own argument is flawed because this particular company that the minister has now decided that should be the exclusive owner and operator does not have that publicity. It's not known in the market. If you were talking about KNet or somebody else, we know. So unfortunately, major flaws to what our vice chair has just told us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Senanu, for giving us your views. I will have to end it with you, but Mr. Tete, are you able to respond briefly to what Senanu said because of time?
I think he should get his facts right before he attempts to say what he said, because the point remains that the NGIC is not exclusive owner of the thing we are talking about. Look, the minister's statement is clear. To the extent that KNet, MNOs, and Smart Infraco, all of them, Accent Digital, has onboarded to birth this super purpose vehicle, NGIC. So that's the point I'm trying to make. So when he keeps saying that we have handed everything exclusively to NGIC, that is malicious.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much as well, Sylvester Tete. He's the Vice Chair of the Communications Committee of Parliament. Earlier you heard Adam Senanu, anti-corruption campaigner, also co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing those views with us. Now, SNIT is in a crunch meeting with organised labour to discuss the 60% sale agreement of the 4 hotels to Agriculture Minister Brian Champong. Chairman of the forum, who spoke to our Labour correspondent Daniel Opoku ahead of the meeting, said that he's confident the issues will be addressed. And Daniel Opoku, who is monitoring that meeting, joins us live on the line. Daniel, what's currently happening?
Hello, everything.
We can hear you very clearly. What's happening at where you are?
Right. So currently, Senate is in a meeting with organized labor, and it's a closed-door meeting. And the indications I'm able to pick is the fact that organized labor is not so much enthused with the sale agreement to Mr. Brian Champong, despite the fact that they all agree to the fact that Mr. Brian Champong is a businessman. So currently, the boss of Senate, Madam Elizabeth Ohini, is in the meeting, and she's taking questions from organized labor, trying to thrash out some of these issues. And we hope by the next 20-30 minutes, they should finish the meeting. And whatever happens, they will go ahead and brief the Sector Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, and also with the Sector Minister of Pensions. They will go ahead and brief him.
Daniel, just very briefly before you go, earlier we were talking about the representative there speaking to you ahead of this crunch meeting we were talking about, and he being sure that the issues will be thrashed out. Are you able to give us certain specific details he gave, which gave him that confidence?
Before the commencement of the meeting, I spoke with the chairman of Forum, Mr. Isaac Bampuado, who showed me confidence that they are hoping to get a proper resolution to the matter. And also the meeting was called by the board of Senate for them to be able to explain the issues that Labour has raised. We can take a listen to Mr. Isaac Bampuado ahead of the meeting before the commencement of the meeting.
I'm sorry, Daniel. Thank you very much, but we don't have that. We'll bring you that in our subsequent bulletins. But as you had there, Daniel Opoku monitoring that meeting there on the sale of 60% shares in 4 hotels to Agric Minister Brane Champon, and that is being done by SNIT, and already people are talking about it. Employment Minister expected or currently meeting Labour on it as well. We'll bring you all of these developments as and when they unfold. And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7
It's live,
FM.
camera, music. The stage is set, the stars are ready, and Ghana's biggest night is here. The 25th Telecel Ghana Music Awards night happening live on Saturday, 1st June at the Grand Arena from 7 p.m. Be part of the extravaganza of rhythm, sheer talent, and high fashion, plus all the drama of who wins what. 170 nominees, 30 awards, plus 18 superstars, all performing live. You can't miss this. Book your tickets now. Starting for 500 Ghana cedis on star 713 star 33 star 25 hash, or call our hotline on 0501 288520. The 25th Telecel Ghana Music Awards, powered by Chatterhouse, supported by Guinness, Captain Morgan, Close Up, British Council, TV3, 3FM, and sponsored by Telecel, connecting energies. Celebration. Our music is.
Hello, good afternoon. It's time for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, peasant farmers predict food inflation to exceed 50% if government's Planting for Food and Jobs program does not receive needed attention.
If you look at the general inflation that we're talking about, around 25%, if you break this general inflation into the various components, food inflation is still around 40%.
Also, Ghana Statistical Service urges Cocoa Board and Ministry of Food and Agriculture to address decline in cocoa output.
We have consistently seen that we get the largest return from cocoa in the first quarter of every year. Then suddenly we see a sharp decline to about $585 million in the first quarter of 2023. A significant decline from about $890 million to about $580 million.
We have details of these stories and others lined up for you. Do stay with me. Well, now we'll move on to the details. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana is predicting food inflation to surpass 50% by next year if the implementation of Phase 2 of the Planting for Food and Jobs program does not receive a boost soon. According to the association, government is not paying much attention to the initiative to ensure it yields desired results. Wepia Awal is president of the Peasant Farmers Association.
Looking at the time, the government could pilot this in some districts. Maybe you can pilot it for next year, or let's pick about 4 or 5 districts or a district in each region and pilot it so that we can get the inputs to the farmers on time. If this is not done and the farmers are supposed to rely on the open market prices or to buy inputs from the open market, it's going to be expensive because as we speak, the cost of fertilizer, the cost of agrochemicals and seed is already high. So if farmers are supposed to depend on it, one thing that can happen is that their farm sizes will reduce. Because if they cannot buy more, somebody wanted to do about 5 acres, because he's not able to afford, the farm size can reduce to 3 acres. And when that happens, obviously food production will be impacted, supply will be impacted, and price in the market is going to go up. And like we indicated, if you look at the general inflation that we're talking about, around 25%, if you break this general inflation into the various components, food inflation is still around 40%. And if these inputs are not given to the farmers on time, to be able to grow food, then we are likely to be heading to over 50% of food inflation from next year.
Well, that was President of the Peasant Farmers Association, Wapia Awal Adugwala there. In more stories, the Ghana Statistical Service, GSS, has urged Cocoa Board and the Sector Ministry to address the exposures leading to the continuous decline of cocoa output. This comes on the back of the share of cocoa to the country export declining by 8% from 2022 to 2023.
We have consistently seen that we get the largest return from cocoa in the first quarter of every year. In 2021, the highest was in the first quarter. In 2022, the highest was in the first quarter. In 2023, the highest was in the first quarter, averaging about $895 million for these quarters in the last 3 years. Then suddenly we see a sharp decline to about $585 million in the first quarter of 2023. A significant decline from about $890 million to about $580 million in the first quarter of 2023. A situation that the agency is aware of and have found reasons that led to that, and our expectation is that we minimize the vulnerabilities associated with whatever led to it so that going forward we can sustain the returns from cocoa.
Well, that was government statistician Professor Sambo Kobna Inim there. Away from that, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is urging local businesses to take advantage of the numerous business opportunities available in the salt industry. According to chairman of the Greater Accra chapter of the association, Chonam Akpelu, the industrial level salt production by Electrochem Ghana Limited has a long value chain which could benefit local small and medium-skilled enterprises.
The only way we can take advantage of the African Union Continental Free Trade area is when we promote the construction of large businesses in Ghana. And so this is a testament of one of those large businesses, and we're very impressed about the work that the Electrochem team is doing here. Our hope is that the members that we're bringing along will learn from what's happening here, the innovation, but also very importantly, take advantage of the networking opportunity to be able to be part of the supply chain that the company has established.
Ochona Makpelu also admonished business leaders to come together to share their experiences to help them navigate challenging economic times.
The reality is that the industrial environment is very harsh these days. The business community is really struggling with many issues, from high levels of inflation to daily free fall of the cedi. And this is also an occasion for us to meet as industrialists, to encourage each other and to share ideas and to see how we can navigate this very difficult terrain of the entrepreneurial space in Ghana.
You heard the voice of Greater Accra chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akpelu there. Now, before we go, the Economist Intelligence Unit, EIU, has revised its global real gross domestic product growth in 2024 to 2.5% from 2.4%. This means that growth will be unchanged rather than slowing from 2023. Growth is providing surprisingly resilience in the face of high interest rates and geopolitical risks, the London-based firm said in its global outlook. The change in global growth, it said, reflects another upward revision for U.S. growth in 2024 to 2.2% from 2% previously. Upward revisions for several European economies that have pushed euro area growth to 1% from 0.8% and an upward revision for Brazil to 2.1% from 1.8%. Well, that brings us to the end of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please log on to our website on www.3news.com. My name is Manu. Afful. Do stay tuned. Urban Blend is up next with Black Rasta.
It's lights, camera, music. The stage is set, the stars are ready, and Ghana's biggest night is here. The